Hey everybody, what is up? My name's Mackenzie.
And I'm Jonathan.
We are husband and wife, and we'd like to welcome you to TerreDice.
And today we're taking a look at Expeditions by Stonemaier Games.
Yep, and thank you so much to Stonemaier Games for letting us check out this game. And I am really excited to dive into the sequel to Scythe. So if that sounds like something you want to see, then just keep watching. So this is the sequel to the famous game Scythe, which I know you and I both really love. Love that game.
Love it so much.
So this is the sequel. So the plot laid forth for this game is there is peace in Europa. Everyone has come to peace there. But now all the attention has been gone up into Siberia. So a meteor has just crashed up there, and an expedition went out there already to go and try and figure out what was going on, but nobody has heard from them in months. So they sent another team out, and they also disappeared. So the heroes of the Scythe world, they have decided to take upon themselves to fund their own small expeditions and to go up and figure out what's going on and how they can help. And that is kind of where this story begins.
Now this is a standalone game in the Scythe universe. Now it has ghosts and semblances of some of the mechanics from Scythe, but it is an entirely new game with new mechanics as well. So to play Expeditions, much like a turn in Scythe, you have a mover that moves between various actions. However, in this you have an action cube, which is covering one of three possible actions. You start by being able to do all three. That's move, play, and gather. This lets you move around the board, it lets you play cards, and it lets you gather various different resources from those locations that you're at. Now, after that first turn, you're going to be sliding that cube up to cover one of those three actions. You're able to do the other two actions that are uncovered on that turn. Now you can alternate between different sets of two actions that you take until you decide to take a turn to rest. Now when you rest, you're going to reset all of your cards that you have played to make them available to you. You're also going to get your workers back that you've placed by doing those different play actions. And then you're going to be able to move that cube down and get another turn where you get to do three actions. So that's generally how you're playing those turns. Now what you're trying to do, so the game ends when somebody places their fourth star. Now those stars are going to be much like Scythe. Ways that you achieve them are different things that you do in the game, whether it's achieving lots of workers or lots of cards, or removing the corruption from the land, even the 20 corruption tile that exists on one of the far out lands that you'll be exploring. Now for each of those things that you do, you're also going to be getting other various different kinds of points through the forms of the money that you've gotten before, as well as that popularity giving you a multiplier on those stars that you're getting. So this game relies on a couple different ways that you can enhance your play over time. One of those is definitely those cards. So the cards that you get are cards that you can play for various different actions on them. Also, they have a worker spot on them. Now, if you've gathered some workers by going to those locations with workers and gathering them on your turn, you can play those onto your card when you play them to activate additional abilities. Sometimes that's an instant ability, sometimes that's now an ability that is like in play until you reset that card later. So you may get to use that for several turns on end. You also have a way to take meteor cards and meld those. So when you meld those, it's going to give you a really strong bonus that's cascading over time based on other different types of things that you have available when you meld those cards. Some of your cards are items, which can be upgraded to give you that ability that you got with a worker, but permanently for the rest of the game. And in addition to that, you have the quests, which give you popularity, so that's how you're going to get your hearts that will multiply your points and your stars at the end of the game. But also for completing those quests, for helping them on their way, you're going to get different bonuses. And those bonuses are also going to cascade in a sense where you're going to get the one-time bonuses as well for each of those quests that you completed.
Each person has a hero, and then they're also going to have a matching companion, which will look similar to the characters that you saw in Scythe. And those work well, and they are designed to work together. So you have to plan out when are you going to play those cards and when you want to refresh those so you can keep using those in the right order.
Yeah, and I really like I love how they've done the art for these characters. Like,
gorgeous.
I have characters that I just like loved playing in Scythe, and to play those characters in this too, just to see them reimagined in another way was a lot of fun. Now, the board itself. So it starts out with a few tiles revealed. That's in the south of Siberia. Now there are also central tiles and northern tiles that are both face down. So the way you get to those is by moving your mech onto those spaces. When you do, that's going to interrupt your movement. So you've explored a new space, you can't go any further. what that now allows you to do is gather from that location, but also there's corruption. So these like meteors are landing, there's like corrupt forces at work, aliens, I don't know, tentacles.
Yeah.
And anyway, so there's a number that is going to be on that second location that you can gather from at that tile. And it's going to be the minimum number of corruption that has to be drawn. So you're going to take the corruption bag, you're going to start drawing tiles until you've surpassed or equaled that number. Now, you remove that corruption by spending your power and your guile. Those are resources that you can get by gathering. They're also what you get by playing cards. Now that is the gist of the game. This game is all about card play. It's all about, can I get all of my stuff working in the right order at the right time? It's all about efficiency of when you move that cube around and when you are going to get what actions. And it's a little bit about, what's out on the board and what do I need? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all about that balance of when you are going to play versus move versus gather. And when it is time to do that refresh, because you will be skipping a turn. So when can you afford to do that? It's all of those questions that you're going to be asking yourself throughout the game. Now, this game is it's pretty crunchy. It's difficult. We had a lot of fun diving into it. It is different from Scythe, but I think there is ghost elements that give honor and hints of a Scythe to it. I think you were saying that play action, I feel is a mini Scythe board, having to either choose between the play, the move, or the gather.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like your little mover.
Yeah, your little tiny mover. And then you're going to be collecting those map tokens, which are similar to the Scythe, but they don't reveal any, they reveal that map tile, as opposed to in Scythe, they would be revealing a quest. So it's interesting that they were able to recycle some of those materials.
Yeah, for sure. And then some other ones got changed a little bit in really fun ways. So what I thought is really interesting, for instance, how you gain stars. The game ends when you get your 4th star.
Yep.
Now, the stars themselves, you do not get them the second that you achieve those abilities. So there's actually a boast action that is one of the gathers on one of the tiles that you can take. And when you boast, that's how you are going to get stars. So you have to actually boast about it to actually get the stars. I picture you're putting up a statue or something and be I did this thing. But what's cool about that is it means players may have completed stars, but they've not gone and claimed them yet. So it actually puts an unknown on when the game is going to end.
So let's talk about the size of this box, because it is a big boy. It is a hefty size box. And for the amount of stuff you get in it, it definitely seems like they are planning stuff for the future, because there seems to be some empty spots in it and maybe things to go. Yeah?
Yeah, it's just so you open up the box. You can only fill about 70% of it right now with stuff. There's just empty pouches and boxes. And in fact, in one of the spots, there's actually 2 extra holes for new mechs, where it's okay, there's definitely new stuff coming in here. And we know now also that there has been a first expansion announced that's in the works, that's in development. But it was kind of interesting to get a brand new game and it's already pre-ready for new expansions. I can't say I'm upset about it. I mean, we got 4 Scythe boxes out.
It's not like we don't like Scythe or anything.
Yeah, and it's now we know it's all going to fit in one box. That is kind of a nice thing to think about. So it is interesting to see that. Now, where I will say that it feels very confusing is the game has a set number of tiles. So the central and north tiles, it's always all of them. You're just kind of shuffling where they are. Generally, the board feels pretty samey from game to game, where it's the same tiles are roughly in the same place, because the north is always going to be the furthest. Central is always going to be the central tiles. Now, what I'm still a little puzzled about is their actions to take meld, upgrade, quest, also boast. All of those things exist on the board in specific locations. And in fact, those quest cards, they have a number on them. You have to go to tile number 18 to finish that quest. And I don't see how it's gonna be swap, where you can swap tiles out, in and out. At least they'd have to introduce new cards that let you complete quests at other locations, or a new way to do those actions. Maybe it's buildings, maybe you have things that go on top of the tiles that allow you to take the boast action or such. But without that, I'd struggle to see what from a map tile there would be in an expansion. However, that bay that they left in the box allows for plenty more tiles.
Theme. So I told you guys at the beginning with that setup that there has been some sort of meteor that has crashed and now strange things are happening. But I definitely feel like there is more room to like fill in some gaps. I feel like I do not know the entire story, and I feel like that is done on purpose, and I feel like there is a story mode like begging to be told. I mean, like this can't just be the whole thing. I mean, like we arrived and now there's aliens. And I really feel like they are asking us to know more. The art is, as Scythe is, gorgeous.
Top tier. Can't get better. Yeah.
I think I said a couple times while you and I were playing through this, I was like, every single like card I would pull up, I was like, man, I just want to like blow this up and like have a picture print of
so
this.
striking. And the color
so
schemes
beautiful.
they use too, especially the Meteor cards that come in several different colors. Oh my gosh. And you get these bright red cards, these bright green cards.
Yes.
It just looks
It's
so
like how
cool.
they like pull out different elements to match like what those cards represent. Like so beautiful. In like an eerie alien world way. Cold. It feels very cold.
Yeah. The location tiles are so cool too. It's just they really build the world and really make it look super cool.
Yep. And the mechs, beautiful design. Really like seeing that. Thematic wise, they said they went and borrowed some from the war that were really good at climbing over things. So,
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that is why
I like
they are
the
mechs.
Norse boat with spider legs is my favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like how they all like carry.
Yeah.
I always love that how they design the mechs according to the region that they're from.
Yeah, it was
That's
a lot
always
of
really
fun.
fun.
Yeah, so I think for me personally, this is an entirely different game than Scythe. I think Scythe is going to remain the one that I am really excited about playing all the time. This is far more card driven. It's a lot less player interaction. I like that player interaction, so in that sense, that feels like something that's lacking for me in this game. I do think that the idea of exploring into these blind tiles and then having corruption to fight and all those things are really interesting to me. But kind of, game after game, there's not as much variability to it as I would hope. The central region and the northern region being the way that they are. You can kind of go to expect, oh yeah, that's the 20 tile, that's the 5+ tile, that's the one that has boast, that's the one that has meld. And you start to kind of figure things out. It's definitely more of like an optimization puzzle game and less of like the story that gets told of, oh, you remember when I jumped through that tunnel and like took out all your people and then I took all your metal with me.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah. In that regard, like it is just like it's a crunchy game that gets you thinking. I think it's beautiful on the table. I think that there's a lot of like really fun aspects to it that are very much skill driven, not luck driven. Especially pulling all that corruption down. You know what you're up against. You know you've got the resources. It very much becomes a resource puzzle.
I think I prefer base Scythe to Expeditions, but I think you're also comparing apples to oranges, and I think that they're entirely two different games. And I am most happy that they are continuing the Scythe universe and that we're getting more story. I'm excited for things to come since things have been announced, and just to see this storyline growing and growing. That always makes me happy. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know whenever we put out a new video. And again, thank you so much to Stonemaier Games for letting us check this game out. And we'll see you next time. Happy playing!